Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's MissyMaroon here today, and I am going to be doing the throwback tag. And just because I feel like I need to mention this, I'm wearing a Hogwarts shirt. I hope you can see it. Yeah. It's Hogwarts. And there's a specific reason why I'm wearing this shirt, and that is because I'm doing this tag. It's making me think of my childhood a lot, and to this day, but especially when I was younger, I would just sit and listen to Harry Potter read by Jim Dale on tape all day, every day. So there's a meaning behind the shirt. And I felt it was necessary to wear it, even though you probably can't see more than my neckline. But it's all good. So I was challenged or tagged to do this video by my best friend Megan, who is extraordinary here on YouTube. I will link her video of this down below. It's pretty funny, and like I was watching it and I had so much like commentary to make, especially like in the video that she has. It's of her being sung to by our 4th grade class, and our friend Mally was like leaning in really close and like really creeping on her, and I was just like, ah, Mally, and I was like watching all these things, and it was taking me back. And first of all, I just want to say there are a couple questions that I can't do, such as like the video of you when you were younger, reading stuff from kindergarten, just because I don't have that stuff. I'm sorry. My bad. But we're going to get straight into the questions because I'm a rambler, and there are 15 questions, so we better get into it. Question 1. What year were you born? I was born in 1998, September 9th, 1998, in case you're wondering, so I'm 9998. Do you have any pictures of yourself when you were younger? If you do, show them. Well, yes, I do. They should be flashing across the screen right now. And yeah, these are pictures. Quite a few of them happen to be from California, which is where I was born. A lot of them, I think, are of me at Disneyland, because we had season passes when we lived in Disneyland, and not when we lived in Disneyland, when we lived in California, because we were 15 minutes from Disneyland, and we'd go like every weekend. It was the best. Question 3. What TV shows did you grow up watching? I remember watching a lot of Animal Planet, and they had this series where it was like the top 10 most extreme and whatever, and I remember watching a lot of that with my brother Kieran and Thomas. We watched a lot of that. I also watched a lot of Kim Possible, Drake and Josh, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I watched Hogan's Heroes, which is actually a show from when my dad was younger, but he got it on like DVD, and so we would watch it like every night during dinner. It was the best. I love Hogan's Heroes. And like I referenced it in my English class a couple months ago, and my teacher was like, "What? You've heard of Hogan's Heroes and stuff?" I felt pretty cool. But yeah, so Hogan's Heroes, Reba, I'm sure there are others, but yeah. And then also I remember from the time of like when it came out to the day it ended, I watched Wizards of Waverly Place. That was like my favorite show. Oh, also The Nanny. I've seen every episode of like The Nanny and Full House and Wizards of Waverly Place, and I've watched all of those shows multiple times. Number 4. What did you want to be when you grew up, and do you still want to be that now? Well, I wanted to be 3 things. I want to be those 3 things all at once. And these are just like the 3 things I remember always wanting to be. And in 4th grade, I remember writing to my teacher about how I wanted to be all 3 of them at once. And she's like, "You go and do that," because she was the best. I loved her. So I wanted to be a baker, a rancher, and an author. I no longer want to be a baker. I still enjoy cooking and baking things, but no. I still want to have a ranch, but I want to more of live on one and just like have it so I can have land to ride around on and have my horses. But I don't know if it'll be like a working ranch. And then an author, I still love to write. It's like one of my top 3... easily top 3, maybe even top 2 favorite things to do ever. I write almost every day, but I mean, I don't want to professionally pursue being an author. I now want to be an anthropologist and history teacher and an anthropologist, professor, and makeup artist. So I have this whole plan. It's through until I get my master's in college. I'm going to be a makeup artist and work in that industry. Then when I get my master's, I want to be a history teacher at a high school and also do makeup artistry, like freelancing on the side. And then when I get my doctorate in anthropology, I'll become a like professional anthropologist and work in that area, and then eventually become a professor of anthropology, hopefully. And yeah, that's my plan for right now. 5, show a video of yourself when you were younger. Like I said, I can't do that one. 6, what were your favorite toys to play with? I don't remember specific toys really. I remember like when we were in California, I used to play outside all the time with my brothers and like my dog Riley, and I had this old like giant house, like toy house or whatever, that was plastic, and I used to play in it all the time. And when we moved here to not to California, to Washington, I remember when I would be with friends I would play with toys, but when I was at home I would just sit in my bed and listen to Harry Potter. I listened to it like over 20 times. And that's because I would take breaks to listen to other books, and also because my brothers have stopped me from listening to it still because they're sick of it. But I can kind of quote it along with Jim Dale now, so that's pretty cool. What's the most embarrassing thing that you can remember doing? I really don't want to tell this story because my family's going to watch this video and they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. And if my brothers and my brother-in-law ever see this video, like, I'm never going to hear the end of it. And I would especially die if the person involved in this story were to watch it. But I'm going to tell the story and just hope that those people who would like tease me endlessly about it don't watch this video. Okay, so this was when we first moved here to Washington, so I was like 6 or 7, and my brother Kieran had made a friend from like church and school, and this kid eventually became his like best friend, and I'm not gonna say his name, but so this kid was over at our house one day when we had first moved here, and they were playing Halo on the Xbox. Oh yeah, that was another toy I really liked playing when as I was growing up, is I would play on the Xbox and I would play Oblivion. Loved that game. And I still try to play it to this day, but Skyrim. Anyways, they were playing Halo, and I don't know why, but I thought it would be like a really good idea to go and just like suddenly like pop up in the room and walk over to him where he was like sitting on the couch and climb onto the back part of the couch and like sit behind his head, and then I just started singing to him, and I don't remember anything of the song except for singing over and over again that he was my cowboy. And then when I was done, and like my brother can't remember, he was just like staring at me. He was like, "What are you doing?" And then like the kid was just ignoring me and like playing Halo, and yeah, but I thought it would be a good idea or something. I don't know. I was like in love with this kid, and so I did that. And then when I was done, I just like ran away to my room and was just like, yes, now he's gonna fall in love with me and life is going to be great. Remember, I don't know, guys. It's so embarrassing, but also kind of funny, and like, why? Okay, moving on. Question 8, read something you wrote in kindergarten. Like I said, I don't have anything I wrote in kindergarten. All I have from like kindergarten is what is in my mom's possession now, and they're like practice cursive and writing books. So I would just sit and practice my cursive, because I learned how to write cursive in kindergarten, even though we weren't supposed to learn it here in Washington until 4th grade, I think. So, and number 9, 3 songs you love to listen to as a child. Okay, I remember, like, I don't remember the specific songs names, but there were like these, like, just in general, I really loved listening to Irish folk music growing up, because that's what my dad would listen to a lot when we were driving, and it was just so cheery and happy, and like singing about unicorns and the last of the Irish rovers, and like, what? It was magical. I loved it. So I loved listening to Irish folk music growing up. I loved the whole Scarlet Pimpernel soundtrack, and to this day I love that soundtrack, although I think my favorite song growing up was Madame Guillotine, which is so disturbing. I was such a disturbing little child, I feel like, in some ways, because I was a little bit obsessed with, like, murder and killing, and to this day I kind of still am, but in a different type of way. But like back then I was like, yes. And I remember I used to threaten my swim teachers that I would like get a guillotine and kill them. I don't know, I was weird, I was disturbed, I was angry about living in Washington where it rained. But yeah, so Madame Guillotine, Irish folk music, Proud to be an American. Yeah, I listened to that like every day, except not the original. I would listen to this cover by a band from like the early 2000s or whatever. I don't remember what they're called. If I find it, like I have the song still on my first phone, so if I find that, then I will leave it down below. But yeah, it was pretty great. I listened to it all the time. And so yeah, those are like my 3 songs / 2 CDs, but anyways. Number 10. What is one funny thing you dressed up as for Halloween when you were younger? I don't really remember dressing up as anything funny. I think there's a picture of me from when I was like a duck or a bunny, but that might have been for Easter. So I don't, in my opinion. And also I used to watch my brothers and my dad play Oblivion all the time until I started playing Oblivion. That's kind of weird, I guess. I don't know. 14. What is the scariest thing you remember happening to you when you were younger? Well, let me tell ya. Oh, I actually have 2 stories. I guess I wasn't as traumatized by the first. Okay, so I'll tell this first story. It's really short and simple, and it happened first, but I guess this was more scary for my parents than me because I forget about it, but I was almost kidnapped when I was younger. Before we moved to Washington, I remember there was like a couple of parks nearby my house, and like me and my dad and my brothers were playing at one park, and my dad and my brothers were off playing basketball at the basketball courts right next to like the sand lot, which has a play area and stuff, and I was just sitting there like playing with the sand and just like touching it, and I'm like, sand. And I remember this kid came over and he started like talking to me and building sand castles with me, and he's like, hey, you want to come play at my house? I was like, sure, let me go ask my dad. So then I went and I like ran over to my dad and I was like, hey, I just made a friend who wants to play with me at my house. Not at my house, but at his house. And my dad was like, what? Okay, let me go see this kid. And then like when we got back, like the kid wasn't there, and he was like a grown man. And I remember like when I said how, oh, I want to talk, can I ask my dad if I can go, how he was like, no, let's go, and he like kind of tried to pull me. I was like, no, I'm asking my dad, and I like just left. So yeah, I was putting time out for that, and I felt like that wasn't very fair because I just wanted to play with a friend who actually wanted to kidnap me, but that's okay. And then the second story, which remains in my mind so vividly, is shortly after we had moved to Washington, we went to our family ranch in Utah, as we do every summer, and so we have these like ATVs there. I think we have 3 now. At the time we had 2, and one of my cousins, Scotty, had brought his friend, whose name I won't say just because it's the same name as the place that I live in now, and I find that so funny and like ironic, but anyways, so we were going down one of the trails on the ATVs, and so there was me and my cousin Samantha strapped, like we were sitting on the front grill because back in those days we thought that was safe and okay, and we had like a bungee cord pulled across our laps because we were like, yes, this will be our seatbelt and keep us safe, like weirdos. And I think like my cousins Harrison and Jonathan were sitting on the back grill, and then we had this kid who was my cousin Scotty's friend sitting in the middle driving. And on this trail there was like this ditch. It's now been covered over and stuff, but there was this ditch, and it was really like small and just like and it was a bit of a beast, and so you had to know about it and know what to do to get over it without like harming yourself. He didn't know about it, we didn't think about it, and we were just yelling at him to go faster and faster, and this poor kid, he's just like, okay, I'll go. And so he was going like probably 60 miles an hour around. And so he hits this ditch and everyone stays on except for me. I like flipped over the front and landed on the road right in front of him, like with just my arm out into the road. And the tire went right over my arm. And like, I was like, ah! And then he started to leave me because he didn't notice I was gone. And I remember yelling, I was like, no, come back, don't leave me. And so then he comes back and he like rolls backwards. And then he lands on my arm and he like stays on my arm. And I just remember like sitting there being like, yeah, get on me, you idiot. And I vividly remember calling him an idiot. And then he was like, oh no. And then he like rolled forward just a little, like so that the wheel wasn't on my arm anymore. And then I like got up and I was like, ah. And then like my arm really hurt. And then when we got back up to the house, everyone was like, oh my gosh, poor baby Jessie. But yeah, so that was pretty scary. And yeah, my questions just appeared. There we go. Alright. Then number 15. This is the final question. How is the world different now than how it was like when you were a kid? Well, the most obvious thing to me is the technology. Because, like, first of all, it looks way different. VCRs are no longer a thing, apparently. And even DVDs are kind of on their way out, which really bothers me, because that's like, really? Really? Do you trust the internet to be able to hold all your stuff? Because I don't. But anyways. And so just technology, it's grown and it's changed, but also just the abundance of it. And, like, I remember my siblings got their first cell phones when the youngest of them was in 8th grade. The oldest was a sophomore, and so they had gotten their first cell phones, and I wasn't allowed to get a cell phone until I was in 5th grade, and that was like crazy to everyone because no one else had cell phones. But I got a cell phone because there had been a few attempted kidnappings in my area, which was very strange because this is a very safe area, but that had happened. So then my parents were like, oh my gosh, we need to get her a phone in case someone tries to kidnap her so that she can be like, shut up, I need to call my parents and tell them that you're trying to kidnap me. I don't know. And so I was like, yes, because I've been trying to get a cell phone ever since my siblings had gotten one. Like, my Facebook, my personal Facebook, it says that I'm like in my 20s because I lied about my age in 4th grade to get the account because my siblings had Facebooks and I wanted to be cool like them. Yeah, anyways, so I got my first cell phone in 5th grade and that was like crazy. No one else had cell phones. Nobody started getting cell phones until like 7th grade. And now, like, I babysit these 2 girls and one of them is in 1st grade and it's not unusual for her classmates to have cell phones and like to have iPhone 6s, which is like, hold the phone away from that child. And that, like, that's crazy to me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, technology has just supremely grown. I think that children are, like, growing up with a lot more technology in their lives. Like, I mean, I grew up with lots of technology in my lives, like playing video games and listening to Harry Potter on tape. But now it's like kids just sit and they play video games. Like, I remember I was at PT the other day and this little kid that was like in elementary school went up to one of the like front desk workers and he's like, excuse me, do you have a Wi-Fi? The person was like, well, no, yes we do, but you can't access it. It's for the like office only. And he's like, what's your password? And she was like, excuse me, I just told you can't go accessing it. And so then he and his brother were like super bored, even though there was like coloring books and crayons right next to them. I know crayons are terrible, but there was also other coloring utensils and like books and tables and toys for kids to play with, and it was like, no, those things are archaic. I don't want those anymore. I just want to play on my mom's phone. Like, that's crazy to me. And just everyone is, there's like, I mean, obviously, like, I didn't know how much drug use was going on, but I feel like now the drug use is really high. And I feel like people are like declining in their moral codes right now, which, not cool, guys. And yeah, people just seem much less friendly. And I mean, I'm an introvert and I have social anxiety. I don't like talking to strangers, but it feels like more and more people are becoming like that and stuff. It's just, it's interesting. It's different, but that's the world we live in. And yeah, that is the end of the tag. I hope this video wasn't too long. I have no idea how long it is, but I ramble. And anyways, I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.